Hey everyone, welcome back to the Unified Gamers Network, the show where we break down the stories shaping the gaming world. I'm Clayton Lane coming to you from Portland, Oregon. Today we're exploring the significant issue that has been affecting our industry over the past few years. The massive wave of layoffs in the video game sector from 2022 to 2025. So grab your favorite drinks, get comfortable, and let's dive into what has been happening behind the scenes. The video game industry, known for creating the incredible digital worlds we enjoy, is currently in crisis. While we celebrate its creative and technology advancements is undergoing its biggest reckoning in decades. Since 2022, an estimate of 35,000 developers, artists, writers, and testers have lost their jobs. This isn't just affecting a few major companies or a few indie studios, it's affecting everyone from teams behind well-known franchise to passionate groups that never even had the chance to release their first games. So what is happening? This isn't just a few games that didn't sell well. It's about the broader impact on the industry. This is a systematic problem. We're going to break down the toxic mix of corporate greed, unsubstantial business models, and the messy fallout from the pandemic that is putting the future of the games you love at risk.
Hell, you're the one who pushed for marriage in the first place.
A crisis of unpredicted scale. The current situation regarding job losses in the gaming industry is alarming. The wave of layoffs are commenced in 2022, reached a peak in early 2024, resulting in the highest numbers of jobs cuts recorded in a single quarter in the history of the industry. In 2023 and 2024 alone, over 25,000 individuals were terminated. To contextual this figure, it is compared to the entire development team of a major title such as Grand Theft Auto 5 being dismissed, circumcision, rehired, and then dismissed once more. The trend is not occurring in abstract. It has received significant media coverage. Recent reports indicate that Microsoft reduced its workforce by 1,900 positions in its gaming division shortly after its historic acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Sony laid off 900 employees within its PlayStation studios, while EA eliminated 670 roles and closed studios such as Ridgeline Games, which was engaged in the development of a new Battlefield installment. Moreover, entire studios have been dismantled. The shutdown of Arcane Austin, developers of critical acclaim titles such as Prey and Dishonored by Microsoft, exemplified this trend. Revelations, known as the Saint Rose series, were also closed by its parent company. Additional Riot Forge, an indie publishing label from Riot Games, recognized for producing compelling story-driven games, was closed. These organizations represent decades of collective created after eliminated. A 2024 survey conducted by the Games Development Conference revealed that a extensive portion of the developers have been directly impacted by layoffs, either losing their employment or witness colleagues being dismissed. The magnitude of these layoffs warrant examination since 2022, the games industry has experienced a loss of a approximately 35,000 jobs, with the highest number of layoffs occurred in January 2024, when over 8,600 individuals lost their jobs in a single quarter. The affected companies included significant players Embracer Group, Unity, Microsoft Gaming, EA, Sony, Epic Games, Take-Two Interactive, Ubisoft, Sega, and Riot Games. The list of extensive, with more than 30 studios closing their operations entirely and numerous games being canceled before release. Factors contributing to the crisis. Several factors have contributed to the multifaceted crisis. Primary COVID-19 pandemic played a crucial role. Following the onset of the pandemic, the gaming industry experienced a surge in demand and prompting companies to engage in extensive hiring and acquisitions effects under the assumption that the increased interest in gaming would persist indefinitely. However, circumstances returned to normal. Many of these companies found themselves overstaffed. Additionally, rising costs of game development has become a significant concern. The budget of a AAA title now ranges from 200 million to 300 million, with extensive maintaining a professional team exceeding 20 million to 35 million over several years. Publishers began to focus on a limited number of high stakes projects, which create significant risk. If these games underperform or face delays, the consequences were significant. Furthermore, the industry shift towards live service gaming expertly challenges. Many companies, include Sony and Warner Brothers, pivot to provide live service mobile platforms. However, industry leaders such as Epic Games and Bungie also face difficulties when these games fail to capture a significant audience or were discontinued shortly after launch. Mergers and acquisitions further complicated the landscape. A total of 16, 22 largest game companies bought out in history occurred between 2020 and 2024. When these mergers did not yield anticipated benefits, such as Embracer's failed 2 billion acquisition, significant layoffs and the studio closures often ensue. Extensive influence such as geopolitical tensions, regulations, actions in China, raising interest rates, economic uncertainty has also contributed to this crisis. Additionally, has been growing criticism regarding corporate bloat in a tendency for executives to prioritize short-term financial gains at the expense of long-term business safety. Aggregate the why behind the collapse. So how do we arrive at this point? How do an industry that once seemed unstoppable suddenly feels so fragile? The decline is not due to a single factor, but rather a combination of issues that have been brewing for years. First, there was the pandemic corrections. During lockdowns, gaming flourished as people sought entertainment and social content connections from home. Companies experienced significant growth in expanding their teams to keep up with the surge in demand. However, growth was not substantial. As the world reopened, many people found other ways to spend their time and money, leading to a decline in engagement. The industry has hired aggressively during the boom, found itself bloated and overextended. This brings us to the second and arguably most significant factor: corporate greed and the unrealistic expectation for endless growth. The largest game publishers are publicly traded companies accountable to shareholders who demand constant growth. Even if a company reports record profit, if it does not grow as rapidly as Wall Street deserves, it is viewed as a failure. We've witnessed companies lay off hundreds of employees after reporting record setting revenue. The uncomfortable truth is that announcing layoffs often boosts a company's stock price, creating a perverse incentive to cut jobs in order to satisfy investors in the short term. The mindset prioritizes stock prices over the well being of the individuals who create the games. Compounding this is the third issue: soaring budgets and development costs. Producing a AAA game has become extremely expensive, with budgets now exceeding hundreds of millions of dollars. This financial pressure creates a fear of failure within the industry. A single misstep can lead to catastrophic outcomes, resulting not just in layoffs, but also in the potential closure of the entire studios as a result of management tending to stick to safe bets, focusing on sequels and remakes instead of taking creative risks. This financial strains is also why many publishers become obsessed with live service games. Fourth factor is intentional pursuit of a large live service hit has disastrous for many. Publishers observe the massive success of games like Fortnite and concurrently that every major release must be a forever game with battle passes, outgoing revenue streams. The problem is that this model is notoriously difficult to execute successful, and players are increasingly fatigued by it. For every success, numerous failures launched and shut down within months, others leading to the closure of their studios. This is a complex and desperate issue that affects everyone who loves video games. If you believe these stories need to be told, please consider subscribing. Your support helps us continue to investigate the issues that matter in gaming. We also encourage you to share your perspective in the comments. Have you felt the efforts of this crisis, either as a developer or a player? We want to hear from you. Welcome back. Um, the human cost more than just numbers. Behind the scenes, static lies a person. Each layoff represents a life disrupted, a passion met with a pink slip. These are artists, programmers, designers who may have relocated their families for a dream job only to be absorbed absolutely terminated with little notice. Style cycle of instability has become tragically normal in the industry. The loss of 35,000 developers is not merely a job loss, it's representing a catastrophic drain of industrial knowledge and creative talent. When experienced developers are let go, their years of experience and years of ex- expertise in the creative chemistry they built with their disappear. Many talented individuals are leaving the industry altogether, seeking more stable careers in other tech sectors or entirely different fields. This Exodus also has a chilling effect on the next generation. Aspiring creators, absurd industry plagued by burnout, instability, and a lack of job security. It's becoming increasingly difficult for junior developers to break in when they are competing against thousands of layoffs veterans for a streaking pool of opportunities. The dream of making games is being by that harsh reality of corporate mismanagement. Here is a quick overview of the companies that experience the most significant loss. Bracer Group, nearly 8,000 people laid off, 29 games canceled, and now splitting into three companies. Unity, 6 rounds of layoffs resulting in 3,000 jobs cut. Microsoft Gaming, more than 3,000 layoffs, closure of studios like Tango Gameworks and Arcane Austin, and cancellations of major projects. Sony, over 1,500 jobs cut, closure of London studios, and significant reductions at Bungie. EA, approximately 2,400 layoffs and the cancellation of a new Star Wars game. Epic Games, 800 jobs cut, representing 16% of its workforce. Take Two and Riot Games, major cuts and cancel projects. Additionally, more than 20 studios shut down in 2024 alone, with Little Red Dog Games, PlayStation London Studios, and several Bethesda Studios. It's easy to become lost in the numbers, but each layoff affects a real person. Developers have shared their experiences of facing uncertain futures in a industry that seems increasingly indifferent to their contributions. What does the future hold? What's next for the industry? Despite all the chaos, there is some hope on the horizon. Analysts expect the industry to bounce back in 2025, 2026, with major releases such as Grand Theft Auto 6 and the next Nintendo console on the way. Global gaming market is still projecting to reach 300 billion or more in the next year or two. However, the industry is changing. The era of double digit growth is over. We can expect less trending chasing, fewer risky live service bets, and a return to evolution in single player games. In addition, AI is beginning to have an impact. Some anticipate that the first layoffs directly related to AI automation will occur in 2025, particularly in entry level roles. The big question is, how will the next generation of game developers get their start if those junior jobs disappear? And will AI help or hurt the quality of the games we love? So, is the industry doomed? Nor necessarily. It is at a crossroads, and the path forward is being shaped by people fighting for real change. One of the most significant developments emerged from this crisis is a strong push for unionization. Workers are coming together to demand better severance pays, advance notice for layoffs, and a greater say in how new technologies like AI are used. This momentum movement represents a fundamental shift as employees unite to seek a stable and respect they deserve. The second major shift concerns the looming presence of artificial intelligence. AI is a double edged sword. On one hand, executives see it as a way to cut costs, which many developers fear will lead to more layoffs. Gamers are also skeptical. Where that AI generated content will result in soulless, cookie cutter games that lack a human touch. On the other hand, some view AI as a tool that could empower teams, allowing them to create worlds that were once only possible for large studios. AI could handle routine tasks, freeing up human developers to focus on creativity. The debate over how AI is utilized will define the next generation of game development. Finally, this crisis would inspire a creative renaissance led by smaller independent studios as the AAA sector becomes more risk evading. There is a significant opportunity for indie developers to fill in the void with fresh ideas, new games, and more personalization. Handcrafted experiences may witness a decentralization of the industry, moving away from the blockbuster or bust model towards a healthier, more diverse ecosystem of games. In conclusion, the video game industry is undergoing a painful but perhaps necessary correction. The loss of 35,000 jobs is a tragic, directly resulting from an unstable model based on the fantasies of perpetual growth and the complete disregard for the human element. The companies that survive this storm will be the ones that adapt. They will prioritize substantial practices over short-term financial gains, empower their creative talent instead of treating them as disposable, and listen to what players want. For us, the players, the future is also in our hands. The games we buy, the studios we support, and the conversations we have about the health of the industries all matter. The road ahead will be tough, but there is hope. Hope in the workers' organizing for a better future. Hope in a new technologies, unlocking creative, and hope for the form of the hope from the ashes of this crisis. More resilient, creative, and human industry can emerge. The people who create the games we love deserve so much better. To final to summarize, the few years have been a difficult reset for the gaming industry. While they're in pain, these also hope for a smarter, more substantial future. If you were a developer out there struggling, how know that you are not alone and the community is fighting for a better industry. This is for today's deep dive. For you have thoughts, stories, questions, feel free to reach out on social media or leave a comment. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with your fellow gamers and developers. Thank you for listening to the Unified Gamers Network. I'm Clayton Lane, and I'll catch you next time.